Hello, hello. Hey, Diamond, what's up? Welcome to the stream here. Appreciate you joining. All right, kicking things off. My name is Brian Morrison. I'm a software engineer based out of Chicago, Illinois. We're doing this live coding thing every Wednesdays on YouTube now. I used to do it on Twitch at various days, but now we're doing it on YouTube. The project we're working on is an application I'm building called Enviari. It is a shipping application. It's going to be completely serverless, built with VueJS up in AWS, utilizing basically as many of their services as I possibly can. So I've got some news before we kick off. I finished launching my coding Discord bot series on YouTube. So if you're interested in learning how to build Discord bots using JavaScript, check the link in the description below so you can get in on that. If you have questions, hop into my Discord server where I'm active pretty much every day. And you can ask me questions about the course directly, tell me if I made some mistakes or something or not. Again, link in the description below. Next week, we're starting a new series I'll be launching on YouTube as well as my website. My website is brianmorrison.me. And it's all going to be about coding Node.js APIs. So the gist of it is we're going to start with a very basic Hello World API and progress through sending and querying data from the API. We're going to get into authentication, data validation, and then finally we're going to end up deploying it up into AWS using Elastic Beanstalk. I've also, in line with that, have started a weekly coding series in my Discord server. I'm going to release all the details on my website when I have some time to get to it, but I just haven't this week. It's been kind of a nutty week. But the gist of it is every week before some new content that I produce is being released, you can hop into Discord. You can check the challenge that is going to be public for the entire Discord server. People can work on it, collaborate on it, share whatever. And then tentatively, I'm planning on doing a live stream inside the Discord server sometime Saturday morning. I haven't had a time slot kind of locked in, probably around 10 a.m. Central Time, where I'm going to go through the solution to that. And then the following week, all the videos and content is going to come out that's going to have all the solutions in plain text. So really easy to follow along there. One last update, I am also starting a gaming stream on Facebook Gaming because Mixer died and that came out of left field. No one saw that coming. So I figured, why not? I mean, I like playing video games. I like streaming. I've kind of always wanted to do this. So it's like, yeah, let's give Facebook a shot. If it doesn't go anywhere, it's not a big deal because it's going to be more of a pastime for me anyway. Like when I am playing, I'll just turn the stream on and start chatting, not a big deal. So again, link in the description below. Feel free to get involved in that. So since last week, I don't know if, for those of you who did join last week, we ran into some issues right kind of towards the tail end where I was trying to deploy this thing out, get the pipeline set up in Azure DevOps to go out to AWS, and we were having some trouble with that. Now, I realized that I was taking the complete wrong approach to it by trying to have a limited account deploy that. And since we're using a DevOps account, we were using an account that we want to have access to deploy all these resources to. I basically created a global admin, and my deployment then works. I also tweaked out the SAM template a little bit that we used. So I'm actually going to pull that up right now. We can at least step through that a little bit. And I've started playing around with some other stuff too in here. But here's our template now. So we have a post address function, I have a customers function, and what I'm thinking about doing, I understand the holy grail of kind of the whole serverless paradigm is every single function is isolated to itself, but I don't think we're going to go that route. I think what I'm going to do is for each entity that I have, we're going to create a different function for it. So that's kind of where we're going to go with this thing today. I really don't have a plan, to be entirely honest. I would like to get my addresses and shipments endpoints finalized. I have a lot of the original source code that I wrote last year for it when I was planning on doing this thing with Express. So what I probably am going to do today is just migrate a lot of that stuff into the all the Lambda functions we're building, and yeah, and we'll see how far we get with that. We'll test some endpoints, and yeah, let's do it. So. Get minimize here so I can see the chat nice and big. Close out some of these tabs that I don't need anymore. All right, so I'm gonna update my board here. Set up basic API using Lambda and API gateway. I'm actually just gonna call that done because we have a basic API set up. I've got it set up to where I can send a message to it and it responds, so that's good. Staging pipeline. This is done. This is done. No, it's more of a test. We're gonna put that all the way down in the bottom of the backlog. Bottom of that backlog there. So we're actually just gonna create a new item here. We're gonna say implement. What should we call this thing? Implement. How about addresses API? I think we started working on this a little bit last week, and we had it working locally. Or manually, I think I had it deployed out, but I want to test everything and make sure it's all functioning properly once we started using the automated deployment. So I'm also going to say implement Shipments API. Okay, so we'll drag that into selected, and we'll work on that next. We're going to start with just these two backlog items, and then we'll see where we go from here. So I have our API open, and let's see what we've done here so far. So I've got addresses, I've got customers. Customers I'm not going to do a whole lot with quite yet, just because that is going to, a lot of that's going to be the customers themselves. I'm not implementing a system right up front to where people can add their own customers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to synchronize in customers from Square, because that was the original idea for the application. If you're interested in knowing more about the application and kind of its history or whatnot, kind of the gist is my wife started a business where she was shipping small products out of the house. She was having a hell of a time trying to get it automated and working properly. So like she would have to manually create a label using the post office website for every single label she wanted to create. And I wrote kind of a PowerShell script that would automate some of that for her. That evolved into a full-blown Windows application, Windows desktop that is. And the next phase of that was to move on to trying to make it a web application. And there's been several iterations and attempts of me doing that, and I made some good progress over the years, but never really finalized it. So I would like to actually finalize it this year and get it out there into a production, environment where it's kind of generating me some extra money. Us, not me. All right, so I'm actually going to comment out this customers function here because I really don't care about this stuff quite yet. And I'm going to adjust. We have a shipments function and we have a post address function. So we're going to say, we'll just say shipments function and addresses function. Sounds like a very convincing us. Well, yeah, I am I'm the sole earner for the house, so it really is just us. I'm gonna copy this and paste this in here and uncomment this. And this is inside of the events you have here. Actually, let me blow this up a little bit. I got this too small. Too small. We'll have to do the same thing. We got Postman up. So inside of the events here, we just got to. I actually don't even know how this is totally referenced. I'm still learning the whole SAM templating thing. I've done deployments of Lambda functions individually using Azure DevOps, but never using a SAM template until basically over the weekend when I finally got this thing nailed down. So events, we'll just say API. We'll just say API event. I don't know. I think we can probably name this different every single time. Probably HTTP event. This probably makes more sense. And then you can see I have app.handler. Let's change this here. Node.js, that can stay the same. For shipments, we're going to change the shipments to do the same thing. So if you notice here under properties here, I've got the path as proxy plus, and this basically means anything that happens after the base URI of the API gateway endpoint. So if you'll notice as we get in, once we look once we look at AWS, you'll see there is a default endpoint you get from API gateway, and then it's / your environment / whatever comes next. This proxy plus here is going to grab everything after that, and it's just going to hand it off to my function to process. And I've got something set up to where it will handle different types of requests. So, but we'll take a look at that. So, and then method any, I just want anything to pass to it. Okay, so I'm going to copy this into here as well. I think we can have duplicate names here, and we're going to change this to handler. I don't necessarily care that the shipments is wired up yet. We're just kind of setting it up for now because we're not going to be doing anything with it until I move on to the shipments. But app.handle, let's do, instead of exports.get post yada yada yada, we're going to do exports.handler async event and context. If you remember those, this is how you need to structure the main entry point for a Lambda function. And then I actually should reference, I got a personal project that I just did something very similar with. Bear with me 1 second while I grab some, I'm cheating, I'm grabbing some templated code from here. Yeah, here we go, this is it. So what I basically have here is I'm gonna move, let's see, Axios can go up, FS, we're gonna move up to the top. .env we can get rid of. We got a second one of those. Base URL, we're going to move this down to the bottom. Because what we're probably going to end up doing is moving a lot of these route handlers into these different files. So essentially what I have set up here is I have an empty object with routes. If you followed along with the decoding Discord stuff that I've done, I have a very similar method that I'm using for importing bot commands into it. But I'm scanning this routes directory here. All the files, basically importing them. Oh, you know what? This is different. This was a single main entry point. We're going to have to tweak this a little bit. So instead of imported routes, I want to do this. For each. No, we actually don't even need to read the file system because we're only handling a single route. So I don't care about this. Route, I guess we can still leave. I don't know that I need any of this, come to think of it. So we'll just, we'll const routes equals require routes, I guess like that. Let's just create a new file in here called routes. And we'll say exports.get. This was the kind of model that I was following. It was async. And it's going to accept the context and the, I think, event and context. Context like that. Open a new arrow function. Yep, like that. So we're just going to say, let's see, what did I have this set as before? So we're going to copy this response. We're just returning the response here. So let's copy everything inside. Actually, no, let's just steal this all this code here. This is where I would like to define these. And really, this is probably even more than I even need to get into. But we'll keep going with this. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't like having this separate file, so we're going to get rid of that. And we'll delete this. Because if I have get here, I can just reference get from above, right? So we're going to get rid of all this stuff here. And we're going to get... I'm basically undoing everything I just pulled in. That's all right. So we want to check if... So everything we get over here is going to be addresses slash whatever else. So we don't have to worry about checking the path here, which is what I was doing, but we want to check the method here. So I guess we can do return event.method2 lowercase. I could do a switch function. I think we'll do that. We'll just use a switch or an if. So if routes, no, if event dot http method dot to lowercase. Go and just copy this stuff over here like that. Equals get. We're gonna return get event context. Probably could do some trickery to do that, but do I want to return it? No, I guess I don't want to return it. I want to define the response above. So let's let response, because then I basically could check if the response is null at the end of it or empty, then, you know, we'll just get rid of it. Empty objects like that. So then we can do response equals get like that. And then finally, if response equals an empty object, we're going to return a status code of 404 like this. So let's start with just get and see what happens when we deploy everything out. Or at least we could, I guess we could run it locally. That's kind of one of the big deals with SAM. You know what I could do instead? I could do response equals like that and then return. Yeah, let's start here. Make sure this works. So I think I got cd API, npm run dev, or again, I gotta do SAM local start API. All right, so we're running locally. Let's get some Postman up here and test some things out, see what works. All right, so we have in our environments, we were using 7071, which was using for Azure Functions. Now we're using 3000. I think that's what this is running on. Cool. Okay. So we're going to get under addresses. I've got a post address. Let's do get address. Let's do get addresses. Hostname / addresses. Send that and see what happens. Okay, looks like it's actually creating a Docker container. It's weird. Weird that it decided to do that. All right, so we got an internal server error, bad gateway. Runtime handler not found. App.handler is undefined or not exported. I got it because Lambda handler. Okay. We'll do that. We saved it. Let's try again. All right, so we got back hello world. So everything is working here the way that we expect it to. We can get rid of that. And then we were creating an address, so we can say just copy paste this. I don't know why I'm manually typing this out. I have an idea about how we can make this a little bit more dynamic. I like dynamic code. I don't know why. I like just testing, I guess, how far it goes. So const routes equals open project, and we'll say get equals async event context like that. We'll test the get again too. Let's copy all this into here. I guess I could just do this, actually. There we go. I like that better. Get post. So now I can do in here, let's Let's get rid of that at least. And then we'll check if routes, open bracket, HTTP, all that stuff. Then we will say response equals all this stuff, and then execute it with event in context. Like that. That should work. Okay, we saved it. Let's open Postman. Try this again. Get address. I should get hello world back. I got an internal server error, so something didn't go right. Just cannot access get before initialization. Oh, so I'll have to drop that towards the bottom. I guess it didn't. What's it called? What's that thing called? Bootstrap? It's not Bootstrap. I don't know, it like bumps it up to the top so it doesn't have to worry about that. That's kind of that's one of the things about JavaScript that I'm not a huge fan of at time to time, is if you don't have things ordered properly at times, it just creates all sorts of problems. But, you know, what are you going to do? Okay, so that's at the bottom. Let's run it again. Okay, all right, we're back in business. So that, I changed it to const post. That should work now fine. We can get rid of all this. I'm actually happy I'm actually happy I was able to get rid of that file system scanning, because I know that added latency to the Lambda function, which is what we really don't want, because that's gonna make it run longer, and it doesn't sound, I mean, if it takes an extra 100 milliseconds, I mean, that extra 100 milliseconds over however many thousands of calls this thing's gonna get is gonna add up to money over time that I really rather not spend. I need a lot of coffee. I've been on the go pretty much all day today, or at least, you know, working a lot. And yeah, I got this stream, and then I got another one immediately following it we're gonna do on Facebook. So it's gonna be a long night for me. All right, let's test out our posts, because we actually have the post working right. So let's save that. I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. That is for easy post. It's for easy post. Here's our post addresses. Send this. Last time we were testing with the Sears Tower. Okay, so that's working now too. So that's localhost, right? Localhost 3000, and we're getting our object back. So we are actually creating addresses here. So that's cool. That's good. That's what we want to see. One thing where this is going to become a little interesting is because some of this logic is actually going to have to carry over to our shipments, because when we create a shipment, you have to pass in addresses. You actually, well, so I guess I can make multiple calls to the API before sending the shipments. I really didn't want to have to do that. Maybe that's the best route to go with this serverless stuff. I don't know. So, all right, so we have our get, we have our post. Well, it gets working, but it's not returning anything. I don't even know that I can get an address from the Easy Post API without passing in post API documentation. I don't know that I can get all addresses for a specific person. I think it just, you pass in an address ID, and that's where that comes from. So docs, we're in docs. Sample, let's look at our Node.js. Actually, I just want to look at curl, I guess. Create, retrieve an address. And then we go into parcels. Yeah, so you can only create a retrieve an address, or create an address. You can't do it with, you can't just get a list of addresses. So that's where when we finally post our address, we want to save that ID. We want to save that information into a database, right? Because that's going to be important. If an address is already validated, there's no reason to go to Easy Post API that I know of to revalidate that address for every subsequent call, right? So you want to save the address and all the information along with it, flagging that it's verified. And yeah, I really don't know how to structure DynamoDB to do that efficiently without it costing an arm and a leg. So maybe we won't end up using Dynamo. Maybe we'll end up using, I think, Amazon Aurora. So AWS Aurora, bump this up. This is a MySQL and PostgreSQL compatible relationship database at 1/10 of the cost, because I think it's managed. But by managed, I don't know if it still requires you to have, it's fully managed by RDS. that leads me to believe that we would need to have an EC2 instance that's running this thing. And that's constant money. That's not serverless. And that, for me, that kind of tosses it right out the window. But at the same time, if you don't structure your DynamoDB database properly, of which I am not a NoSQL expert, it can cause a lot of performance issues. So I have AWS actually up. Let's look at Aurora. I guess RDS. Yeah, it drops me right in RDS. Let's try and create an Aurora database and see what happens. Creates a database. Amazon Aurora. How about easy create? MySQL. Let's go Postgres. Database fine. Master username Postgres. Auto-generated password. See, or you can specify your own password. Nah, just let it create a password for me. Default settings, VPC, security group. I'm not seeing EC2 instance at all in our configuration, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's fine. Let's try create database. Let's see what happens. If you're not aware, EC2 instances are like VMs up in Azure or up in AWS. They but as long, when they're running, they're constantly charging you for running that thing. And there's some offered in the free tier. Yeah, db.r, well, that's db.r4 large. Let's go back to our Aurora and see what the pricing looks like. I didn't even bother looking at that page. Pricing, Postgres. Oh yeah, see this, all these instance types, this leads me to believe these are EC2s. Pricing per database, instance hour consumed from the time a database is launched till the time it's stopped or deleted. Yeah, so this is not what we're looking for. So I guess we're gonna go Dynamo. I'll just have to put a little time, sink some time into learning how to structure a Dynamo database, or set up a schema that performs well for what we're looking for it to do. I guess I can do, for the primary key, I'm wondering if I can't use some kind of concatenation of user, maybe the primary key can be something like user ID, entity ID, and then the ID itself. I'm thinking that probably is going to work. So let's go down that route. Let's see how that works out for us. All right, so let's go back into AWS. Okay, so I'm just gonna scrap all this. Actions, stop database. Started, not available, state, service 400, invalid instance name. Oh, it's still creating. All right, we'll come back to this. I'm actually gonna leave that tab open. I'm not even going to bother closing that tab because I will forget that this exists. All right, so let's create a DynamoDB table. Table name. We'll say Enviari. Partition key is going to be a string, and we're going to add a sort key of, I don't know what our sort key could be. So date added. I don't know how I'm going to search the data yet, so I'm hesitant to do that. We might actually go through several iterations of this database, so I'm not too worried about it. Let's do. What should we name our partition key? How about object identifier? Just object ID. That's fine. Default settings is fine. No secondary indexes. We don't want that. We want the base 5 read, 5 write RCUs, or RCUs and WCUs. Basic alarm, SNS, encryption at rest, default, blah, blah, blah. We'll add a tag. We'll say application. Enviari. I like adding these tags because I've never played with the resources group feature of AWS, but apparently you can create resource groups in AWS based on the tags. So okay, so now I have to close that. Zoom in on that a little bit too, just for future reference. See, is this created or creating? What? Refresh. No, it's still doing its thing. Okay, so let's come back to our code. You know what? I should not have done that. I should have used SAM to deploy this out. Let's look at how to do that actually. SAM template DynamoDB. This is a serverless function. Here's our table here. But I'm not sure how we're going to be able to reference this inside of our environment variables, because we want a role. A role that is created should have access to read and write to Dynamo for this table specifically. But I also need to pass that into the environment variables for, or you know what? Maybe I don't. Maybe because we're using roles in AWS, I think Lambda will assume the role, and it should just work automatically, which should be pretty cool. Mind you that this is all done before, I don't know. I'm kind of talking out loud. I'm thinking through this out loud, but I really don't know how this is going to pan out. All right, so let's go back into our template, and we're actually going to add this above the, well, I don't know if we need to add this above the functions. In that example, they had it below. Attribute type S, key schema, ID. Yeah, we'll just leave it as ID, I guess. That's fine. Stream specification, I don't even know what that is. Get rid of that. Basic RCUs and WCUs. Let's save this, and then I'm going to cancel this and restart it. And cancel, yep, kill it. Start again. This is new territory for me. This SAM thing was pretty new territory for me last week, so we're learning as we go. Actually, maybe I did want those comments. So how can I reference? Let's see. Let's do a look. Whoop, nope, wrong stream. AWS SAM Dynamo Lambda access. SAM template for, oh, we're going to right back to the same thing. Handler and runtime, I know we don't care about that. Policies, AWS DynamoDB execution. Oh, maybe that's what we need. Stream, get that. I wonder if we add this process Dynamo. Well, see, this isn't a stream. We're not doing anything with a stream. Give permissions, Lambda functions, blah, 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 blah. Resolution for the policies property, enter any of the combination of the following: the AWS managed policy, AWS SAM policy template, and inline policy document. Okay, so here's the function. I see we got the policies. We'll go give DynamoDB full access to your Lambda function. This is an inline document, which I'd rather not do. I want Sam to create it for me automatically. Policies, queue name. Oh, this might work. If we had the policy here, example with a AWS SAM policy template. This is like the hardest part of building some of these applications sometimes, just getting access to the things you need them to have access to. Let's try something like this. We're going to copy and paste this into our SAM template. And I'm not even going to bother running it locally. I would really want to deploy this thing out and just see what happens. Okay, so let's go back into, get rid of my personal projects. I don't need that anymore. And then under our policy, we have our DynamoDB table. We're working with addresses, so we're going to add it underneath here. This infrastructure code stuff is really cool, like if you can get it working. Get att.qname. So I think we want DynamoDB full access. That's what they had set here. Because this is a, that's a managed policy. This is da 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 da. Let's see. Look at the documentation for the policies here. So we have policies. Where do we go? Policies. Here we go. One or more policies a function needs. This property accepts a single string, a list of strings. ARN of an IAM role. That's not what we want. Tags, timeout, tracing, VPC config. Oh, we're looking at different things here. SAM policy templates is probably what we're interested in doing. All right, for every policy template you specify in your AWS SAM template, you must always specify an object containing the policy template's placeholder values. Okay, this was the same example we saw below. That doesn't help us. DynamoDB CRUD policy, give CRUD access. Region account ID. That is not, that sounds like what I want, but it's not, it doesn't feel like it's exactly what I'm looking for. Let's look this up. SAM template, paste this in. Stack Overflow. Here we go. This might be what I'm looking for right here. Policies, just give CRUD access to one table. All right, I think we're getting somewhere now, finally. Those of you not interested in Stack Overflow, can't see. This is what we're interested in here. So I got to ref my table. I want to go back into, we're playing the same music we did last time. Hold on. We're going to shuffle this and we're going to next this. There we go. I remember that tune from last time, and it's going to get stuck in my head again for like 2 weeks. All right, so let's go back in here. Let's get rid of all this stuff and just paste that in here. So manage SAM. So it looks like our managed SAM policy we're using is this DynamoDB CRUD policy, and we got to ref our table name, which might be this guy here. Unless DynamoDB addresses function. I'm guessing that is this because we can see we have post addresses function. We got all this stuff down here. Oh, I got to update all this too. Post addresses function. I guess we just got addresses function. And then addresses function role. Get shipments. We can get rid of get shipments. Sorry, doing a little cleanup here. I still am not 100% certain what all this is for, but figure it out. We'll see as this project evolves. I'm sure we will see how all this stuff plays into each other. All right, so I think that's my table name. Actually, let's go look at the reference. This is what I was reading a lot to try and figure out what I was doing wrong last time and how to expand on this. Authoring, building. No, where were we before? SAM specifications, template anatomy, resources. Here we go. Simple table. Primary key. Do we have the primary key defined? Got attribute definitions, key schema. Table name. Here we go. So let's try table name. You know what? It's a good idea for a side project if anybody's interested in it. Make some kind of plugin for VS Code that will read these things and give some IntelliSense to everything that's going on here. Enviari DB. Good enough. Okay, so there's that. I think we've updated this thing to where I'm Enviari DB. Name that guy. I think that's what we're looking for. Maybe. I don't know. Let's try and deploy this and see what happens. So I'm going to look at my changes. I got rid of some old stuff that I was testing with. We updated that. We've updated that. Actually, you know what I'm also going to do is we're not... Oh, no, we are using Axios. Never mind. All right, so let's see. Testing. New template. Misspell template. Like a dirt. Let's come in here. Let's go into our pipeline. Do I have automated deployments on this? I don't, because I didn't want to. I remember that last time. See, what I might end up doing next time is... I'm wondering if there's, because the UI is just stored in S3 with the CloudFront distribution, I'm wondering if we can also do that with a SAM template or CloudFormation template. I'm not necessarily opposed to just building a manual CloudFormation template if that's going to make things easier and more dynamic for us. So that's been synced up. Let's run this pipeline. And as an update to the pipeline, I wanted to demonstrate... Oh, this is the other thing I forgot to talk about. So I was not able to use Azure DevOps' built-in agents to accomplish this. I actually had to set up a new agent in my server that had the AWS SDK as well as the SAM. Yeah, something didn't work right. HTTP event ID. I wonder why it didn't like that. All right. It didn't like... That was weird. HTTP event is not... I think everything else is what I had. Let's go take a look at the documentation for that. So under my serverless function, what did I have? Events. Event source. HTTP API looks like it's what it wants. Oh no, I have API there. Properties is that? Why doesn't it like that? Unless it's, I gotta name it individually. Shipments HTTP event, maybe. HTTP method any define. I'm guessing they have to be uniquely named. So we'll do, instead of that, we'll do under events, we'll do addresses like that. Okay, let's try this again. Sync up to Azure DevOps, and we're going to try and run our pipeline again here. It's one thing I got to get better at is remembering to zoom in when I'm starting these things. So let's go into the job. Yeah, so I had to get a separate agent installed. And instead of using the built-in Azure DevOps containers, one of the interesting things... No, it still didn't like that. What didn't like? Did I... What? Addresses function with HTTP event. Addresses function HTTP event. Do I have that defined twice? Unless it's just that one, or did I not save it or something? Hold on, let me figure this out first. Let's get rid of this for now. These are named differently. Proxy is there, but this is a completely separate function, so I don't know why it's complaining about this. Unless it's rerunning with... You know what? I wonder if it's rerunning without the updates. Just run a new one. I bet you that's what it is. It's running from the same commit. I've really only used that rerun if I've ever changed the template itself. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. No, no, no. Still broke. Why you no work? Defined multiple times for path proxy. Can I not do that? It's a completely separate function. Why does it care? Oh, here's why. Because I got shipments. Okay. Let's try this. This is my code URI. I, for some reason, thought this had something to do with the actual API that was hooked in. Okay, let's try that. At least now we know that rerunning the same job runs it from the same Git. So, updated SAM template. After a while, I'm eventually just going to start putting like commit messages of like IDK. Like this might work. Like fix something. I try and make my commit messages like meaningful. But I know if I have a bunch of them in a series, it's like I'm trying to fix the same thing over and over and over again. And frankly, I'm the only one working on this project, so it's not like anyone else really needs to know what I'm working on. Yep, looks like that worked. So anyway, the next thing I was going into is I'm not, for this pipeline, I'm not actually using the Azure DevOps containers to host the code, because SAM has a way, when you run SAM package, the command line, it actually looks for all your, it looks through all of your child projects. So like if I go into here and I go into the API, addresses itself is its own custom Node.js library, right? Customers is going to be its own. Shared, I'm not using it. Shipments is going to be its own. So what it'll do is it'll go through all those directories and it'll run npm install on all of those. So I don't have to set up those steps manually, which is pretty cool. That was the first thing that won me over. But the second thing was I can push my changes up to an S3 bucket. So if I go into S3, let's see. Oh, hold on. Is this done yet? Take a break and delete this thing first. Stop. Stopping. Okay. If I go into S3, I have a new bucket here called Enviari artifacts. And part of my build template, I'm actually keeping all these build IDs. I want to set up a lifecycle policy on this bucket, so it'll just phase out everything older than, say, like, I don't know. I actually, you know what? That's probably not a good idea, because I don't want to age it out. I want to do it based on like previous builds. I only want to retain a certain number of previous builds. I'd have to figure out how to go back and clean that up. But anyway, like each one of these is technically a different build from that made it into here. And then the release pipeline for an Azure DevOps is specified to look at, it doesn't actually look at any artifacts within Azure DevOps. It just, you tell CloudFormation, why did you suck? You tell CloudFormation, this is where my package is, and, you know, just deploy this. All right, resource is not in state, stack update complete. I guess we need to go over to CloudFormation and find out why this didn't deploy. Events, what broke? Invalid template resource property table name. Okay, it doesn't like table name, which is interesting. Let's get rid of that and try this again. And then I'll go into the resource, I'll go into the release pipeline and show you what I'm talking about. Template YAML, let's get rid of NVRDB, and let's reference Dynamo. Actually, I guess I could probably, maybe that will work like that, right? Because this is my table, and this is how I'm referencing it. Okay, let's try this. Updated table name. Sync up. Big bug fix to Electric Boogaloo, yeah. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. You know, I didn't turn my chat back on. I'm gonna turn the chat box back on, so maybe it'll actually show up on stream this time and not freak out. Hey, YouTube. Let's try that, see what happens. I don't know. My Streamlabs is still having a problem. It took me a few minutes to get things working properly, because I had to, looks like it's working, but it looks like it's kind of small. Well, I guess no, it's probably because I got a white background here. Yeah, there you go. So, okay. Well, it doesn't look like it's freaking out this time, so maybe that's good. Maybe it was Mixer causing all these problems. All right, where were we? So we pushed changes up. We got to go into here again, and let's kick off that pipeline one more time. Run pipeline, run that. thing, and we'll go into the releases, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Look at the release definition. Underneath the stage, we create update stack. Let's see if I can bring this over a little bit more. You can see all I'm doing is I'm saying like AWS Service is my new account that I created that basically has admin access to the AWS account. Here's my stack name, and then what I'm doing is I'm looking at the artifacts, looking at that S3 bucket, and then there's a file in here, that package.yaml contains all the information as to where the actual functions and all the resources lie to deploy, and that's pretty much it. Like it happens really quickly too, which is awesome. Like it doesn't take forever. I've got projects that deploy out sometimes. Like my website takes like 10 minutes to build and deploy, which is dumb, but I kind of get why, because it's doing all sorts of like crunching in the background in order to get that out there. Okay, so I got a build succeeded notification. All right, this is going. Chomp that did. Let's actually look at CloudFormation. We could see this thing happening in real time, which is pretty cool. If I go in here and I refresh our events, we could see what it's doing here. We got on the left-hand side, see update in progress right there. Refresh again, still updating. It's creating my addresses function role. I'm going to be interested. I actually want to go take a peek at the IAM policies and see what this thing looks like once it's done. Update complete, cleanup in progress. That's promising. It's going back and removing a bunch of old stuff that I don't need anymore. Update complete for the API, update complete for the whole stack. All right, cool. We are good to go. So I'm going to go back into Dynamo. Dynamo. I'm going to refresh my list I got here. Just refresh the whole damn page. Okay, so here's my table. I've got an ID there. That seems to map out to what we said before. So let's go into RDS. What are you doing? You still stopping? You still stop. Jeez. Just die already. Let's go into Lambda. Let's take a look at our Lambda functions we got here. We got an addresses function. We got a shipments function. Let's take a look at the role that they have. I think it's down here somewhere. It's a bunch of tags. No environment variables. That's fine. No big deal. I did see how to set those, so when we need to set environment variables, we can. We don't need to use that .env method anymore. Where are permissions? Here we go. So I got a shipments function role with a random name afterwards. That's cool. And here is our permissions. Resource-based policy, effects allow from API gateway, invoke. That has to do with the API as well. Maybe it's the permission on here that we need to worry about. Access control. Unless the role, let's take a look at this role in IAM. Lambda basic execution role. This is CloudWatch logs. That's not going to help us. Roles. It's our ship. No, we got to do addresses is the one we're more interested in. Address function policy role 0. DynamoDB read write. Batch get from multiple resources. There's our table. Wow, that is pretty cool. So it created all the security permissions that we need to allow our function to have access to that table, which is really cool. I am really digging this whole thing we got going on here. All right, we got stop. That is stopped. What are you talking about? I don't want to stop it. I want to delete it. I have to delete this thing. Oh, there we go. Delete. To delete. What? Okay. We have to start the cluster in order to delete the cluster. Fine. Now I want to see if we can save some information in that table. So I think AWS SDK, I don't know if I actually need to include that, but we might need to. .env, do I have stuff here? I've got my Stripe. I got some of my test keys here. I don't need. We'll put those into environment variables before the night is done for sure. So we have. Okay, so this is the data. I don't want to just return. I want to return the data, but I also want to save the data. So we'll say let ID equals. We'll just say a customer ID of, say, just 1, right? Like customer ID is, 1. Just testing customer ID, and then we were doing entity ID, which is addresses, or like addresses. And then we'll do the address ID, which was Axios res.data._ID, I think. Let's take a look at our response in Postman here. This actually has an ADR for the entity thing, but we want our own, so that's fine. We could do a GUID too, I don't know. Just underscore it, like ID like that, right? And then I'm actually also going to reference my website, use myself as a reference, because I don't remember half of the stuff I want to. Let's see, we launch or deploy to AWS, right-hand side of series. I'm going to pick this one here because that's where I got all my code. Okay, this is what I'm interested in right here. I have to fix that formatting, that looks terrible. So we're gonna get all this stuff first, and we're gonna head back into VS Code, and we're going to set this up here. But I don't think I need this, because this, if I understand this correctly, again, it's been a while since I've really worked a lot with this stuff. I don't need to update the config based on the environment variables, because since we're running everything in Lambda, it's already going to have all the right permissions and everything. Like, I don't need a secret access key and secret ID, because it's going to assume the Lambda function, when it executes, it's going to assume the role that we created, and AWS knows that because that role is tied to that function, that it already has access to the database. So we don't actually need to pass any kind of credentials, which is really neat. So we got our AWS require SDK. I think I'm going to have to npm install that. So hold on. Quit. Thank you. cd addresses. npm install AWS SDK. It's got smaller, didn't it? There we go. That looks funky. All right. Dot client. Okay, so AWS SDK is installed. Dot clients. We're gonna go down here and we'll say, oh no, wait. Come back here and we copy pasta my own code. I wrote all this, so I don't feel so bad just copying and pasting it. Params demo table name is not demo Discord. Oh geez, I don't even know what how do we even figure out what the table is? Because it just creates a random table name. That's gonna be an issue. If I gotta pass in the table name there, that's gonna be an issue. Let's go back into our documentation and let's take a look and see if we can actually specify the table name, because that would be ideal. A simple table. Under properties, we have table name should be specified there. So I'm gonna go back into here. I'm going to open up template.yaml, and I had it up top. I had it right on the front, but we want it under properties. So we'll say table name is going to be Enviari DB table. So now I can copy this into here. In a perfect world, I'm hoping this works. The ID is going to be, actually, we just move this over here. Like that. And we don't need this ID here anymore. Axios res equals okay. Info is not going to be application, rather it's going to be the Axios res.data. like that. So this is going to be, get rid of all these comments here. So I'm passing in the parameters into here of the table name, the primary key we're specifying here. We just have a string, but we want something in a format where we can quickly search through it later. And then we also got the actual info, which is kind of the data we're going to be storing inside of that table. And then if we're putting it here, I'm actually going to wrap this in a different function down here. We'll do const save to table. Save address, why not? Equals async, and we want to pass in, what do we want to pass in? Basically the data, I don't know, address in there, and then we're going to put all this in here. If you don't know how, I will show you how to create an async function. I did arrow functions all the way down. Oh well, I guess we'll follow my same convention. Not sure that I really like that I did that, but we will return a new promise. Resolve, reject, pass that into another arrow function, and we'll paste in our code here. And what we can do is, here's our parameters we defined here. And in .client.put, actually, and you know what I'm also going to do is I'm going to move my document client into here. Because if we're just getting, there's no reason we need to instantiate a new document client. I mean, that's like pulling at hairs, whatever that phrase is. But I want this thing to be as efficient as possible, so I'm not spending any money on it if I don't need to be. Okay, so put errors. We'll eventually do different things in here to update and whatnot. We received your application. I don't want to get rid of all this. I don't care about any of that. But we don't need to do anything if there's no error. We can just resolve. Otherwise, we can reject and throw the error. And we're going to use ERR because I like ER. I like ER better just because I do. All right, so now I can do, instead of that there, this actually needs to be address and address.id like that. But now I can do, let's see, await save. I guess we want to actually resolve the ID. I think that's what we want to do. Doing this, undoing what I did earlier. I tend to do this a lot. Like I'll make a change. I'll think something looks good, and then I'll go back and change it all. So ID, we can get rid of that like that. And then we resolve the ID. So we have the ID we can pass back along with the object. So now we can await let. Probably could just do the whole object actually. I'm going to do something kind of funky here. So I'm going to actually say for the address dot easy post excuse me easy post ID equals address dot ID, and then I'm going to say address dot ID. I think I can do this. So dot easy post ID here. What I want to do, hopefully this doesn't work by reference. Hopefully I can actually update these things. But I want to convert the ID that's passed back to the easy post ID for when it's stored in a table, and I want to have the ID itself be what I've set this thing to, and then that could be ID, and then the address can just be saved into there. Although we really don't even need the ID saved along with the address. So I'm definitely pulling at hair. No. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm modifying it and basically saying I want to rename the ID property of the existing address, and save it as easy post ID because that's their ID. Excuse me. And I want to keep it as reference later down the road, but I don't necessarily want that to be what displays as the ID for the thing itself. So that's where we're creating our own ID that we're going to store it as a primary key inside of that table, and then instead of doing that, we're just going to return back the address. Like, why not? So we'll say under here. Okay, I think I like where this is going so far. Await save address, and then we'll say Axios res dot data, and then for here, we're going to pass back our saved address like that. Yeah, let's see how this works. I'm not even going to bother doing this locally. I'm just going to deploy it out. Like, why not, right? So that, because I want to test to make sure that this table name thing works as well. So let's see, updated table name, updated post function. Dynamo. Okay, so sync up. Let's trigger another deploy. Agent job. Oh yeah, that just didn't refresh from last time. Pipelines. Run it again. While that is actually running, I'm like genuinely curious if this is going to work locally. So let's do SAM local start API. Damn it, I'm out of coffee already. CD up a file, or up the path, and let's try that, running that command again. Okay. So now what happens if I click send? Missing authentication token. Did I set up authentication on this? I didn't think I did. I didn't. I don't know why that didn't work. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's asking for an authentication token. That's really funky. Well, let's try this up in AWS. Let's go back CloudFormation, refresh this. All right, that's updating. And while that's updating, let's do a little bit of research and figure out why see if we can do that. SAM local DynamoDB. AWS SAM local DynamoDB. Process Dynamo events, how to deploy local servers, blah, blah, blah. No. It lets you simulate function invocations for known event sources. So this is not being invoked by AWS. See, like, if you see all this list of stuff they got here, it lets you simulate function invocations from known event sources. This is like, you can trigger AWS Lambda functions to fire, like when you upload a file to S3 or when something gets streamed into DynamoDB. We don't want that. We want to like access a local instance of DynamoDB. So we create a DynamoDB environment variable called table name. The DynamoDB team released a Docker container for running DynamoDB local. That's cool. I thought that was a thing, but I did not know that was a thing, actually. Like, I feel like I've heard about that before, but I didn't know that it was actually released and good and ready to go. But now, how can I tell it to look at the local thing? All right, let's see. Let's open a new tab. I want to save that one because I'm going to use that to deploy out. So AWS SAM use local DynamoDB container. Okay, so you got two containers running. Yeah, they don't talk to each other well. That's a lot to dissect here. So from what I understand is I'd have to create some kind of helper function to connect, which might not be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, so if the process is using, if it detects AWS SAM local as a environment variable, it'll set the options to that. Okay, I like that this is a thing. That might do something. Okay, let's well, we're going to circle back to this. I want to check to see where things are with our deployment here. Update complete. Okay, so now we can actually test up in API Gateway. So I got to look at API Gateway, and I have to take a gander at what is going on here. At least get that URL. This is going to be a secret, because this is a public resource. I could add security to it, but I kind of don't want to right now. And I don't want to be hitting this stage, deploying the stage. I don't like that. So what I don't like is the fact that it's not /addresses, it's /addresses/addresses, because there were multiple proxy things. I don't know that I like that. I don't understand why it was complaining about that. Oh well. Sorry, give me a sec. I'll be right back. Creating a new environment here. Add staging, hostname. This is prod. We're not really using. All right. Oh no, it didn't. Wait a second, maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Maybe, I don't really know, honestly. Here, let's come back. So here's my API gateway. And you can see under the resources, I have an addresses here, but I also have a /proxy. But under stages, it looks like it's /addresses/proxy, whatever. So I don't really know what's going to work. We're going to find out as we go. But I've set up different stages up here. So I'm going to, actually, we can zoom in on this a little bit more too. So I'm going to get rid of that because that's stupid. Go away. And I'm actually going to set these things to work side by side because I like this view a little bit better. I find it a little easier to work with. So let's, instead of local environment, let's go to staging, I think is the one that we deployed out to. Let's check our SAM template just to be on the same page. Resources. Oh, I don't have anything in here. No, so it's deploying the API automatically for me. It's just not, I don't have anything set up here. So one of my other things is actually from my newsletter that I set up for my website. I have a a definition side of that SAM template that actually has a resource for API gateway defined that sets the staging or production environment. I don't remember exactly what. So, name. Oh, sorry, one sec. I had my variable spelled wrong, but again, I don't really want to share this URL out. I really don't even know that matters. I probably shouldn't be caring about it, but all right. I got host names, addresses. Let's just send a get just to see if this works. So get addresses, send get. I get a forbidden. Okay, addresses. Let's try a second one. I get a forbidden again. I should at least get a hello world back, I would think, right? Do I have authentication set in here or something? Okay, this goes to my addresses function. API key required is false. Let's try production. Send that there. It's thinking. I got an internal server error, so that's good. Betting that's because I don't get anything. It still says missing authentication token. Let's look at our CloudWatch logs. So CloudWatch is where you can come and you actually see where those things are executing. You can see all sorts of information on them. So if I go to log groups and I see here's my addresses function, I should have at least one log entry in here, and we'll find out why this didn't run. Address error, cannot find module.env. Did I remove that? So it is 2 addresses, which I don't like. That kind of is silly, but let's go back into our code and see, do I have... I can probably just get... No, because my keys are defined there, and... Oh, .env is there. So it's saying it can't find the module. Let's go into... I don't have it open anymore. Let's go into Lambda. We'll go back to this thing while we're waiting for that to go. Available, modify, delete, create final snapshot. No, I don't care. I acknowledge it upon this blah blah blah. No longer be available. Delete me. I like how all these different confirmation messages, you could tell they were done by different teams because the confirmation messages in different parts of AWS are totally different. Delete. Okay. Let's go into Lambda. Let's go to our addresses function. Let's make sure that our node modules actually has that there. Oh, it doesn't at all. I don't even see a node modules, which I should. Let's see, one of the cool things you can do with this, you could just, like, let's just do that, save it. If we got rid of .env, I mean, I don't expect, I wouldn't expect this to work anyway. I wonder why that is. Let's try this again, because like we're just passing on the message into here, right? And we just save this. Do I have to deploy this out? Create alias, publish new version. Version, no. No, I don't want to version this quite yet. We will get into versioning at some point, but not yet. Send this again. Still got an internal server error. I wonder if it's going to be because of Axios, though. So we can go back to CloudWatch. CloudWatch here. No? CloudWatch? Here we go. Is this different? 2020, 2120. This is the same thing. I wonder if we got a different. Yeah, we got another one here. 23. Yep, can't find Axios. So it's interesting. It didn't actually run npm install when it packaged up the SAM template, which is weird. I wonder, did I fudge this up and not do it properly? SAM validate, SAM package. I'm going to reference my... Oh, wrong one. Want to go and reference my personal project that I've been working on that has my newsletter thingy in it. Okay. SAM build I am missing. That's why. This guy here. Script and working directory is going to be API. So this SAM build step, not the package. I misspoke earlier when I said that. Build is what goes through, crawls through, does all the cool stuff. Package is what takes it, packages it up, and sends it off to S3 as an artifact. I think this will work just fine. Yeah, this is basically the same thing I have set up. I just am using a different path for it. So, all right, cool. Save that. This should fix that problem. And because of that, no, I commented out .env locally, so we should be fine. Let's see, fixed build pipeline. And while this is going and thinking, I'm going to throw this on the screen so we can monitor it. Let's see, that's sent up. I'm going to run this, and I'm going to step away for 1 minute, grab something to drink, and I will be right back. Mr. Free, you ready? How are we doing tonight? The Balmer curve? Gotta elaborate on that one. I'm not sure what that means. Alright, so let's check our... Is this right position? Bring this down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look back in our AWS. Make sure our deploy and everything went out the right way. Nation update complete. Okay, let's look at our function again. Just gonna refresh this page, make sure that our node modules is actually there. Oh, it's still not. I wonder if my build failed. No, it didn't. Seemed to work. SAM package. Oh, wait a second. Did I forget to sync up? That would be another dumb mistake. Yep, I did. Ha! Never pushed my code. So you guys basically saw nothing actually change. Alright, run new one. SAM build didn't work. Path resolution for runtime. NPM was not successful. That's a new one. No, I wonder if I didn't install... I bet you I didn't install Node on my agent, right? Because I wasn't thinking I was going to have to deal with this. Yeah, Azure DevOps, AWS. I like Azure DevOps. I've been working with it for a long time. I haven't looked at some of the dev tools in AWS yet. That's on the list at some point for us to get to, but not yet. Let's see. Okay, so just connect to this thing directly. Move this off to the side. I don't need to. Yes. So what I'm trying to do, and I don't recall that I actually done this, is I'm installing Node.js on my build agent here. So let's try and run this again and see what happens. Rerun failed jobs. I didn't make any changes to any of the code or the pipeline. So we'll see if this is what did it. Frank says, I really like Azure DevOps. I really, really like AWS. Putting them together can be a headache. Upload code. Yeah, I'm kind of new to this, actually. My last stream that I did was the first one I've only so I got my AWS certs and went to go for a new job and landed with a job that is fully Azure. You know, go figure. So I kind of stepped away from AWS for a long time, and I was focusing on working on Azure stuff. And I just recently came back to it, so I'm relearning some things and discovering new things. Path for runtime. NPM was not successful. I wonder if I have to install NPM as well. Sudo apt. All that stuff. Yeah. I haven't talked to you in a long time, Frank. You still working at that same place that you went after you left comp, right? Those of you who don't know, Frank and I used to work together like many years ago. Come on. Don't get hung up, please. downtown. App plan for D package to do more than it reported back. Yeah, I'm working up in Naperville now. So okay, I got an npm version, so that means npm's installed and working. I don't know. Try node version too. Ah. Oh, it installed 8. Why did it install 8? Any talks of you gonna go back downtown anytime soon? Or are they keeping you at home for a long time? IAM keys. I'm using IAM keys. Build agent hosted. Yeah, I'm using IAM keys. This machine here, the one that I'm working on, this is actually in a VM on the computer I'm currently working on. Setup 12. Okay, apparently I can't get it from apt. So who knows when. Yeah, they were at my job, they were recently talking about going back to work. And yeah, no one really bought into it. It's like it's too early. I don't know that I can paste this in here because this is actually not a putty session. No, I can't. Try this now. I see node 12 there. Alright, so node v, npm v. Alright, npm is 6, cool. So I think we're good up, we're all upgraded, good to go. Alright, so let's try and run this guy again. Yeah, traditionally, I mean, if I didn't need to, I'd rather run these pipelines using the Azure DevOps, the built-in stuff. But I didn't want to have to install the AWS SDK and SAM every time that I wanted to run a build, so I just decided to use my own agent. Sure, we are a typical office building. We all communicate via public transfers. Yeah, me neither. I don't envy you. I never want to get a job downtown, honestly. I'm a 30-minute drive from where I'm at right now, which is perfect. It's fine. I mean, I like working from home. I mean, if I had my my choice, I would do it full time. They're gonna have us come back to work eventually, but who knows? I don't know when that's gonna be. All right, so build worked. Very bueno. Let's let this thing go. Hopefully this doesn't fail. Actually, I like seeing this thing in. Something about watching it in CloudFormation as opposed to in the release pipeline. I like doing better. CloudWatch, no. Gateway CloudFormation, here we go. New events available? Okay, so this thing's cranking along. Refresh. It's still going. Oh, it says cleanup in progress. Okay, cool. I think that means it's almost done. Refresh. Yeah, no, I have very little experience with CloudFormation, honestly. When I went for my certs, I think I did the upgraded version compared to the one that you had done. It asked like 2 questions on CloudFormation templates, and that was about it. Like there was very little coverage on that, so I never really looked into it too much until recently. And after doing it, I was like, this is so cool. like the new CloudFormation UI. I don't even really know what the old one looks like, to be honest. Again, my world on a day-to-day basis is Azure now, so which is fine. I mean, it has its drawbacks, but I'm thinking this thing is done. Oh yeah, look, I'm missing an event up here. I ran into some issues with Azure with a couple of personal projects I was working on, and that led me to just kind of quit on it and go back to AWS. All right, so our table here is named the way that we'd expect it to be named. So now let's go back. I know the one thing we were looking at is the function itself. Let's refresh this page and make sure we got our node modules in here now. I still don't. I'm surprised I'm not seeing my node modules in here, but let's try it, see what happens. Basically hung up on the exact same thing that I got hung up on last time, is trying to figure out how to get this template to deploy properly. Yeah, it still is not finding whatever. Yeah, .env, yeah. First big task is to automate a bunch of stuff via CloudFormation, learn by doing. That's the best thing to do, is just learn by doing. Just trial and error. That's basically how I've learned almost everything I know to this day. Let's go back here. Template.yaml. Package. I wonder if I'm missing something else. I'm just comparing to a template that I know that works with what I'm looking at now. I don't see any difference between the two of them, to be honest. Got SAM package here. Files should be the same. Bucket name, prefix. Yeah, the bucket name is the only thing that's different. Did I do something stupid again? The code should be accurate. I've got the new package step in here. Went through 35 jobs before I figured out what I was doing with them. Yeah, I mean, getting these pipelines working sometimes is a pain in the butt. But when they work, they just work. So I don't know what I'm missing. Yeah, like this is the one from that, and that it finished. This was build 61, right? That's what we did. Actually, I don't know how to see the build number in here. Well, I guess it would tell me inside of here. Upload SAM package is where it. Oops. Package 61 Dynamo. Yeah, I mean, this is the most up-to-date version of the code, and this is exactly what I'm using in another project, and it works fine. So I've got my order is fine. Validate, build, package, and then upload. It's exactly the same thing. Here's my template. Output is to package.yaml. Package.yaml goes into there. I'm kind of lost at this point. I don't know what I'm missing. Let's look at here. I'm going to try and get this thing into a putty session so I can better explain what I'm doing. So hold on 1 second. I will be right back here. I've got some software that I use called Royal TS, which is used for connecting, just managing connections to remote machines, whether it's RDP or SSH or a bunch of other things. Those are the only two that I really use. But there's a lot of information and stuff in here that I don't want leaked out. Code is being packaged on the machine or on that agent that I was working on earlier, and it is deployed out to an S3 bucket that I use for hosting artifacts. As in, where is the function looking for code? It should be looking... I'm not sure that well, it's... If I understand it correctly, what Sam is doing is when it packages and it deploys the code out to S3, it creates these little files that supposedly contain all the code inside of it, and then CloudFormation deploys that out. Is that right? I can show you here in a second what I'm talking about. All right, come back here. So, can I change this? I don't even know how to zoom in on this. Full screen, no. Change settings. Ooh, that's better. There you go. Big old text. All right. I need to reconnect this thing though because let's reset the connection. Oh well, I guess small text. I'm not going to deal with it right now. ls cd my agent / what do I got here? Underscore work. I'm guessing 1 because I think it's the only thing that's being worked on. Test results, cds, ls, cd API, cd addresses. Yeah, it's like it didn't even bother installing the packages in here, because this is where I would expect it to be. This is the source directory, and this is where it's supposed to. Let's try and run this thing manually. Actually, cd out. Sam should work here. I don't think I have to enter the full path here. So if I do sam validate, the CloudFormation template should specify where the Lambda function code looks as in what zip file. So yeah, the SAM package, I think it's supposed to package the files up and upload them to S3. Let me bring that up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And you probably have more experience with this, Frank, than I do, so correct me if I'm wrong. If I go into my S3 bucket in one of these million tabs I have open here, I open another tab. Why not? You done yet? All right, yeah, you're gone. I don't need that tab anymore. So if I go in here, I've got my artifacts bucket here. And each one of these files is a build number from Azure DevOps. Inside of this, I have just these files right here, which these seem to relate back to the functions that were actually created. In my package.yaml, which apparently I don't have access to my own damn file. This tab. I'll take a look at the package.yaml. Actually, I think I can do it here. Yeah, so this is, I guess, what it converts it to. It's probably incredibly hard to see on the stream, but... So this is here, for instance, this is the code URI for the function itself. I think before it's deployed out. I don't know if that makes sense or if I'm completely botching what I'm trying to explain here. But I'm here, so let's actually copy this. We're just going to run these commands manually. I want to see what happens. So if I go to SAM... validate we did, build it, SAM build. Oh, hold on 1 second. Sorry, Frank. Give me 1 second. I might know where I potentially botched my pipeline here. Hold on. Template, up a file packaged. Here we go. This is what I'm missing here. Upload CF template. It's not. Oh, maybe not. The working directory is API slash .aws build. Yeah, I forgot about it. When it builds these things, it builds them to a different directory. That's why this is different. Like that. Template file output artifacts. So this builds it. Okay, so this is where, yeah, this is the issue. So I'm looking at there's this hidden thing. Gonna catch the vibe. All right, cool. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate your help tonight. Have a good one. Okay, so this .aws SAM is where it actually builds to. This is what I was missing. So if you look at, again, I really wish I could make this bigger. But I can't. I tried. So if you look at the directory, I mean, you can zoom in real tiny and see. If I do an ls here, it doesn't show it. But what it actually does is when you run that build command, it changes it to this, or it builds it to this hidden directory called .aws-sam, and then build. So this is where all the stuff is. I'm uploading the wrong template.yaml file or something. I'm packaging up the wrong thing and sending it up there. But I feel like something still isn't right. Hold on. Package.yaml. Copying package.yaml from that directory as well. Output file package.yaml. S3. Something in here doesn't really it doesn't click with me the right way, but we're this is the way that I have it set up, the way that it's working right now. But because there's no package.yaml in there. It's just the template.yaml. So I'm almost maybe my other build is wrong. I'm gonna change this. Save that. Okay, let's try these changes. Let's see what happens. Updated pipeline. This whole video has gone from, this whole stream, I've been doing this for almost 2 hours already. This whole thing has gone from, I'm going to build an application and an API to how the hell does SAM and CloudFormation and deployment work, which is kind of exactly where we ended up last time. So. Run this build again. We are really stress testing Azure DevOps' system this entire time. Working on a personal site. Yeah, that's cool. Learn by proxy. Hopefully. Hopefully I've got I'm dishing out some useful info. Yeah, package.yaml doesn't exist. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the idiot, and maybe my former self is smarter than my current self, And yeah. Big redesign coming up because I'm a perfectionist. That's a slippery slope to go down, is the whole perfectionist route. I used to be. I still kind of am, but I've learned to let things go until a future time. Like when this current version of the website came out, it was nothing compared to where it is today. Like it was a very, very basic version of where it is today, and there's still a lot of things that I want to put onto it. Actually, you could tie Azure pipelines to AWS. I always thought I was using one or the other. Yeah, Azure. I like Azure DevOps. It's pretty cool. I do actually want to look at the AWS tooling, just because I had to learn okay, so the AWS developer certification when I took it last year was relatively simple. There wasn't a whole lot of developer-y stuff to it. It was almost like you just had to know what some of the tools were used for. Working directory not found. AWS build/build. CloudFormation template is still through an issue. SAM package. Okay, this uploads everything to S3. So all of a sudden it's saying that this directory doesn't exist. However, I'm literally looking at it. And package.yaml is in there. Right? My agent. So admin my agent underscore work 1s API dot slam slash build dot AWS. Oh, stupid. I fat fingered something again. Dot AWS SAM dot build. All right, so fixed pipeline again. Yeah, I got a few more minutes. This is what where I think we're gonna settle on. We're gonna focus on getting this working, and I'm gonna focus on making sure that that data can be saved into the DynamoDB table. Come on. Yes. All right. Cool. We got checks. I like checks. Check marks are good. Yeah. So we'll get this working. We'll make sure we can save that data. I will update the function as well, because updating it shouldn't be as difficult as, you know, updating a get function just to get an address. It shouldn't be a big deal. But what we'll do is we'll make sure we can save the data. We'll make sure we can get the data, and then that I think is gonna be the end of the stream. At least for today. I'll put some work in before next week. God, I've got so much to do. I might not put in work until next week. I don't know. I probably will though. Because this is like, you know, sometimes when you start working on these projects like this, sometimes that you just need to like get the groundwork laid, and then once you get the groundwork laid, you could just kind of like hit the ground running, right? You just like, you take off from that point. But we're not at the takeoff point yet. All right, so our deployment went through fine. Let's go back into Sam. Not Sam. I Sam. Go back to our function and let's refresh this. Oh, we're in permission still. Let's go to configuration. I have a node modules folder. That is super promising and makes me happy. So now let's come in here into Postman and hit send, and fingers crossed. I got a hello world. All right. I'm excited now. All right, see, we hit the ground. We finally got some of that work going. All right, so now we got to post. We're going to AWS prod. I got to do addresses, because God knows why. Send. And I got, okay, something happened. That's fine though. That's okay. I could live with that because we got part of it working. Let's go to CloudWatch again. Let's back up from here and refresh our logs. And we've got our latest log stream is at 9:58 p.m. Okay, got the info. Request failed with, oh, I know why this is broke, because this is where I was talking about we're going to need to pass in. We got a 401 from Easy Post API. That's because our key is not being referenced in the processes, which is fine. I have a solution for that, which I'm also going to use to reference my other project. Noticing a trend here. I did all this work on a side gig, or on a side deal that I'm working for myself, that now I kind of have a better understanding of how this stuff works. All right, so back here, we can go into this guy here. We're going to copy these, and we're going to go into template.yaml, and under our, I'm going to create a parameters. No, the parameters I couldn't get working the right way, so I'm not going to worry about parameters. I think I know why I couldn't get parameters working, but I'm not even going to bother with that right now. So addresses under here, we need to, under runtime, we'll say environment, and we'll say variables, and we'll say, let's paste that in there like that. And we'll say easy post key. And we'll say stripe key. So this is actually going to set environment variables for our functions as well as our local containers. Once we finally get local, that's what I'm probably going to work on before next week, is getting DynamoDB working locally. So we can test that. But these are our keys that we want to access. These are, for anyone who's watching, these are test keys. These are not production keys. You can't actually do anything with them other than play around with the API a little bit, I guess, if you wanted to. But this stuff is free anyway. You just go to the sites and sign up for them. So don't be a jerk and use mine. Go use your own. All right, so we updated that. I think that's all we need to do. We can use references for different things, so we can store variables. We store parameters of variables closer up this temp YAML file, but I'm not going to do that today. We'll get into that a different day. Let's see. Moved. Oh, you know what else I can do is, now that that is there, we can get rid of .env as a dependency altogether. We don't even need to care about it. We don't need to care about it. We don't need to care about it. Package. I'm going to remove .env as a requirement. Let's just double check our other APIs and make sure that we don't have that in there as well. That's not there. And that is there as a dev dependency. We don't even need it as a dev dependency anymore. And we'll delete our .env and move into SAM template. Refresh this. You know, after doing this, after getting everything set up with a SAM template, I literally want to like do all my projects like this. Let's head over to Azure DevOps and release yet another build. Diamond says sometimes you gotta run the first 200 meters so you can jog the remaining distance. Yep, that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah, and once we get the local environment set up and working and all that stuff, this is gonna make, we won't have to be releasing one of these every single time. We can test locally. And but I'm the type of person, like, when I run up against an issue, I really need to solve that issue. Otherwise it kind of like, it eats at me, you know. Like, there have been times like we'll be at family parties and I got something just on my mind that I tried getting working and I just couldn't get it working, and it's just like, I can't let it go unless I have a vague idea of what I need to do to fix it. Even something like a hint, a way forward. I need that, you know. See, we're gonna have to update our APIs to make sure that, like, if EasyPost throws a 401 or a 400 or 500 or whatever, we handle that appropriately in our code. All right, that's done. So now Still got an internal server error. It's like clicking on stuff randomly. Oh, damn it. Of course it's got to update. I didn't realize like clicking the X button on Spotify would close it. I actually thought it would just drop down into the taskbar or something. All right, let's go back and check the CloudWatch logs. Still request failed with 401. I know what I did. There's a setting for that. Oh, good to know. I have a bad habit when I see stuff on my address bar and I don't like immediately know what I need to click on. I just start clicking on things like, you know, like I'll just click on everything until eventually I see the thing that I need and it's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm after. And I actually know what's wrong here now too. So under, we can delete that shipments and variables too, because that's the same exact file. Under app, I know my process. I changed my environment variables names, so that's why they're not being referenced properly here. Let's look at our YAML file again, and we're gonna steal. I'm not using the stripe key yet because the stripe key is going to be used for when we process payments, but that we're not anywhere close to even getting that done. So we've got addresses, and we'll do that here like that. I synced up, right? Yep, I did. On this build again. And I'm also going to check, while that is still going, I do want to check to make sure my environment variables actually made it there. Let's go to our function. I'm going to refresh this. And we should have, yeah, there's our environment variables right there. Deployment of package is too large now, yeah. That's the downside of using, having larger, well, I guess, I don't even know that you really can say larger Lambda functions, because I'm really only using, like, I've got, what, 2 dependencies? I've got the AWS SDK, which, honestly, that could be a dev dependency, because I think Lambda has that built in. Lambda, AWS SDK. SDK is AWS SDK acquired in Lambda function, because I think it's in the global dependency inside of, or it's a global npm package inside of the containers that run Lambda functions, if I recall. I might be wrong on that. SDK differs. I'm going to look into that, because that might shrink that'll shrink the package a ton, because I think it's that and Axios. Those are the only 2 dependencies that I have in that. I'm going to try and keep it that way. I mean, there's no reason I need to be adding a bunch of stuff that I can possibly think of, because I'm just using API requests for all of my, for integrating with all my other stuff. Let's change the tune a little, change the mood a little bit. What are we in the mood for? I liked orange last time. AWS themed, right? Okay, losing track. Come on, stay focused. Let's finish this up. Confirmation, this should be done. Yep. All right, let's try again. Send. Haha, I got it. Here's my easy post ID. It didn't send me back my ID, which I'm a little bummed about, but it did create. And if we got a response back, that means that actually it should have saved in Dynamo. So let's go check our Dynamo table. Here, Enviari DB table. Let's look at our items, and we have an address. And here's what we said here. Now this has an ADR underscore da da da, which we might end up stripping that out because I don't really know that I don't know that I want to save that. I might end up using my own GUID. I'm not sure yet, but this is a step in the right direction. And I think if I do I don't want to do a scan. If I do a query, I can do string ID equals. Do I have to do equals? I could do a like. I guess I can't because it's got that hashing function. So I think the ID, when you pass it in, it hashes it, so you can't do that. But I could do a secondary filter where I don't know. See, this is the schema design for a NoSQL database, specifically Dynamo, the way that it works. I know you can't just treat it like it's a relational table, otherwise you'll basically kill yourself. You need to understand how to do this, and I don't fully grasp how to set up a good one of these things. But yeah, let's go to edit here. You can see here's our info, and then here's all of our stuff that we posted in there. So I should be able to do a get. Let's update it to do a get. Let's update a get so this way we can pass this in here and actually get the damn thing. And now that we know this is working, we can just roll with it, right? And I'm going to do a to do here. Okay, so I don't need to actually query easy post. I need to get here. So let's do, instead of that, we'll do get address. All right, I'm undoing this. I don't like these arrow functions like this. I like function. So I put an arrow function there. So I think it's, if I want to get something, it is copy most of it. Most of this is going to stay kind of the same. Okay, so doc client get item ID. Create a new item, read an item. Table name is that, key, year, title. Oh, what if I could do composite keys? Unless the sort key would be part of the composite key. I need to look into how to do some of this stuff. Let's copy all this here. Now let's go here. We need, we don't need that. We don't need the params here. We don't need any of that stuff. And we don't need, unable to read JSON. No, I don't want to do that. Data, we'll say instead of get, we'll do resolve if error. Oh, I like that better actually. I like doing if error, reject, otherwise resolve. If error, reject with error. Otherwise, we want to resolve with the data. Data like that. Get rid of this put because we don't need that. Let's update this guy here. Table we know is Enviari DB table, which we probably can. We're going to move this into an environment variable too. So process.env.table name like that. And our key is going to just be ID. Like that. I think that should work. We don't worry about the title. We don't need to worry about the year. I don't like var. Let's use let. I guess document client would basically be used for everything here. Like, we're not going to be getting anything that does not eventually end up in the database. So this can probably go up top. And this is probably where we're going to update. We're probably going to use something similar to get... Whoops. We're probably going to use something similar like this. Like if we're in production, if we're using AWS SAM, connect locally, otherwise connect out, I guess. So there's our document client. We have our base URL, which we're going to move that somewhere else eventually too. We have our get, and instead of response, we want to awaits, let's say if event dot, I guess we need to, let's just respond back with the event and see what happens. And I can do this. I can do this locally. I can test this locally. Stringify the event so I can see what that looks like. And I'm going to save that as a reference as well, so I know what to look for next time. So let's check, see if we're running. All right, we are running. Let's go to... Let's go here. We're going to change to local dev. Get address. We need to remove that. Send missing authentication token. Maybe I need both of those. I do, apparently. So if I do, this is my ID. Surprise on my face when I looked out the window to see the sun coming up. Yeah, you said that last time too. I'm gonna stay up late for these things. Proxy address, this is my ID. Path, it never gets old. Yeah, I've been there before, man, honestly. I don't know if I don't know if I told the story before, not on this stream. I did on my old one once, but when I was first learning how to program, I used to go to a local, I don't know if these guys, I know you're overseas, but we in America have a chain restaurant called Denny's, and they have free refills on their coffee. So what I would do is I'd go hang out with my girlfriend, who's not my wife, excuse me, and I would, when I was done at her house, which is probably about like 10, 11-ish o'clock maybe, I would take my laptop and drive up to Denny's and order coffee and basically sit there and sip on coffee all night while I taught myself how to do Android development using Java. Yeah, that's where I started. But I mean, there were certainly nights where it'd be like 5, 6 in the morning before I'd even leave. So I'd be there for a solid like 6, 7, 8 hours straight on a fairly regular basis. I mean, this was almost like a daily thing for like 4 or 5 months. So, but yeah, it was fun. All right, so this is my ID. I can get that from here. I need to reconsider how I want to do this, just because I don't like this addresses deal. I don't like this, that I can't really reference it from a variable inside. I guess I'd have to split it up anyway. Learning Java wasn't that bad. I mean, quite honestly, learning Java helped me understand C#. So like when I moved on to my first job where I did a lot of development, I started with VB.net because supposedly that was easier to learn. Supposedly. But fortunately, I had that background in Java, and C# and Java are both C-based, so they have very similar structures to them, and I picked up C# pretty quick because of that. The rest is history. Now I write it full time. So I'm going to basically have to use this guy here, or I could just do ID. Addresses, ID equals, this is my ID. I don't need to follow strict conventions. Query string parameters. I like this. That makes things a little bit easier to work with. All right, so we've got that here. Picked up C# first, moved on to Python, found it way easier somehow. Ended up, yeah, I mean, kind of hop around, especially early on. Like, you don't know where you want to settle with. There's nothing wrong with that. I did the same thing for a while. I did Java, and I moved on to learning C# helped me pick up everything else since. Yeah, I mean, if you can't remember it, it's going to be like riding a bike. Like, you get in, you start looking at it and stuff. But the most, learning the language is not the toughest thing. It's learning the different patterns that people use, especially like when you get into more advanced, you know, like the whole domain-driven, onion-based applications. There's a lot of different patterns that are used, and knowing how those work is almost a bigger feat than understanding the language, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've dabbled in a lot of things over the years, so we're not worried about post. Oh, here's an API request for something. Oh, that's the request. I don't want to do a request. I want to do a new file. I want to do APIG proxy request .json. So this is what I can expect the request object to come into my code looking like. So we are at the root. We're at the request context. So I'm guessing I can get this from the, well, no, this is the context, right? Oh, this is right on the top level. So if not, whoop. So for get, we're gonna say let response if not query context dot query. What was that? What did I say? Query string requests? No, this guy I want open. Query string parameters. And not context.queryStringParameters.id. See, then this happens every once in a while where my C# takes over, and now I added a new line for there, which is not cool in JavaScript. Return status code. I think 400 a bad request, and body yeah, like that. So there's that. That should return. And then the last thing I'm going to do, we will do let address, or we can just return actually. Return get address, and we'll pass in this whole string here. Save that. Actually, I do response equals let address. And then we want to return response equals status code 200, and body is json.stringify address. Oh, that does go there. Okay. So I can't test this yet because I don't have our local Dynamo instance set up. Probably could do that for the stream server. Let's try and do that. Let's see what we got going on here. So I've still got this tab open before. We don't need this because we got that figured out. Temp policy placeholders, we got that figured out. Simple table, we got that figured out. Give permissions, Lambda using policies, we got that figured out. We don't need that. Sam local, no, is this guy here? So with this return document DB client. Endpoint's the trick here. So we're going to have to create some helper code to do this document client thing. Just paste that there and see what we got going on. So AWS regions that. Doc client. I guess we can rename it. We'll get rid of this. And we'll say doc client, doc client, doc client. No, we don't need that. I don't even care about the region, honestly. Because the region's going to be defined in our... I don't know if that's required for the... Yeah, I don't need that either. I don't need that either. I just need this right here. I don't even need that either. I can do const that, just like that. I could do let options equals an empty deal like that. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. And then let's see, where's this SAM local? Is this that DynamoDB deal? SAM local and Docker. Docker run that guy right there. All right, so let's open our terminal, and we're actually gonna split this and open, nah, I don't like that there. Let's trash that one. Let's just open a totally new one, paste that in there. Downloading our DynamoDB local container image. I had to mute the mic there for a second. Open up a can. I'm gonna close this actually. Yeah, let's terminate that. Start the new API up. Okay. Daniel Hernandez, what is going on tonight, man? How are you? We are just building an application, a serverless application using AWS. Currently, we got the save address working. We got the get address kind of shelled out. We're working with the EasyPost API to validate addresses, and we're currently trying to test out to see if the SAM local will connect to a local instance of DynamoDB I have running in a Docker container. So that is exactly what is up on this side right now. Shipments addresses. I really don't like the fact that I have to have this in front of here, but I don't know why it doesn't. I don't know why it matters. Properties. I'm gonna have to look up and see what this HTTP event else can take. I wonder if there's a prefix or something I can put before there that would help it along or something. But this is what we're dealing with now, so we're just gonna kind of run with it. All right, so that's running. Let's go into Postman, and I almost wish I would have just had, well, no, I can post to that too. Been starting to work with AWS. That's cool. What have you gotten into so far? Cloud9. Oh, Cloud9 is cool. Cloud9 is a very cool environment. I actually discovered that a couple of months ago, and I set up a private instance of Cloud9 so I didn't have to pay the EC2 charges. But yeah, it is really neat stuff. Anything else cool you started to dabble with? Way faster than running crate rack dev. Yeah, if it's on good hardware, if you got a good instance set up. And what's really cool about so for those of you who don't know what Cloud9 is, it's a cloud hosted IDE. So think like VS Code, but like directly in your browser. And it's some cool stuff. Well, create any of those CLIs that generate a bunch of code, they take resources. Like my PC was struck. I recently just upgraded my PC. I rebuilt the whole thing with like really high-end parts because I justify it by the fact that I don't plan on getting another PC probably for another 10 years or so. But yeah, it works fine on my computer now. Before, yeah, you're right. I mean, just trying to generate, even trying to do like npm install would take forever. .shell. Like that. Okay, so that's there. So this is DynamoDB running locally in a container on my PC. Run tutorial.start. So, and to further my little description about Cloud9 earlier, Cloud9 has two modes. Either you can run it hosted in AWS, which you're working off of a VM up there, and they do this cool thing whereas if the VM is inactive for 30 minutes, they shut it down on you, so you don't have to charge it. You don't have to get charged for it, or you can host it yourself internally or on your network or wherever else you want to. And as long as AWS has SSH access to that machine, you go through AWS's interface, you can connect into your Cloud9 instance, right from the go. I'll probably have to catch up from the start. Yeah, this is the second stream. I'm going to be doing these things every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central is when I start. This is the second one, so if you want to start from last week's, we went through some basic things. Like we set up AWS Cognito for authentication. We set up some Lambda functions for the API. We set up API Gateway, but a lot of that was done manually. And now we've gone down the path of using SAM, which stands for Serverless Application Model. We're using SAM so we can run all of our functions locally without having to deploy them every time, although I've been deploying them every time. Okay, so I need to see if... I wonder if I have to create the table. Hold on, let me see what the exact error message was from here. So function address function timed out after 3 seconds. Lambda response parse exception. Let's console.log some of this stuff and see how far we get. I'm wondering if it has to do with this thing. So I'm going to console.log the options here. Console.log options. What are you using AWS for? Just starting to learn, or are you trying to build a product, or are you doing it for work? Okay, my options. Okay, so it picked up that we're running here. It's still timed out after 3 seconds, but it sees my options here. DynamoDB. Is this my container name? It says DynamoDB local. I'm gonna open yet another one. I'm gonna Docker PS this, see what we got going on here. Images. Names is Elastic Swirls. So what I probably need to do is cancel this. I forgot how to set a Docker name. I'm just a noob trying to get a hold of everything. Are you just new to AWS or new to software development altogether? My niche, by the way. So I'm kind of I dabble in a little bit of everything. By day, I'm a full stack developer for an IoT company. I work on the backend API, which is written in .NET, and then I work on the front end, which is written in AngularJS. I also it's Danny from. Oh, okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I know. I've seen you around. We chatted. So yeah, I work .NET backend, AngularJS front end, and then we also work with Azure at work. On the side, I primarily do Node stuff in Node.js. All my private projects are Node.js. I also use VueJS for a lot of my front end stuff. And name discourse app. There we go. So that's what I'm looking to do. So hyphen name. And yeah, I like using AWS. I fell in love with AWS when I started working with it a long time ago. Well, a long time, like 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago. And I actually got my AWS cert. I got 2 AWS certificates. I got Solutions Architect, and I got the Developer, and then I got a job with Azure. So I've kind of stepped away from the AWS stuff for a while, but I actually come from a sysadmin background too, so I know a lot about infrastructure. I'm all over the place. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Connectivity filter program. So I still got my Docker image running. Docker PS, Docker kill, ecstatic swirls. Go away, ecstatic swirls. Okay. Let's try and name our thing now. Unrecognized name. Sudo docker run d hyphen name and then the image. Gotta put it before the image name, that's why. Dynamo. Alright, maybe that might have been what we were missing. So now we have our container name, so I think we can reference it by name from within another Docker container, which is what this guy is doing. I'm gonna kill this just to restart the damn thing. So what kind of stuff, Daniel? I know I've seen you here and there, and I've seen you chatting, but like, what kind of things are you working on? Like, I know you said you're a noob trying to get a hold of everything, but what are you I mean, what are you building to learn? I'm running out of steam because I get to points where I start staring at the screen and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I expect this to fail? Okay, it failed. Let's find out why it failed. Still timed out after 3 seconds, huh? GP Dynamo DB local. I wonder if it's because my table doesn't exist. The connection timed out, though. That leads me to believe that it's not an issue with the table existing. It's an issue with the connectivity. Docker PS this. Dynamo, mostly React stuff. Trying to master it now, moving towards ecosystems with React like Gatsby. I like Gatsby. I rebuilt my website recently in Gatsby, so it's a good deal. Well, if you're interested, Daniel, I have a new series that I'm releasing on my YouTube channel next week about how to build APIs with Node.js. So I'd highly recommend looking at it when it comes out. So hopefully it'll help you out at least with that end of the stuff. It's insanely fast, and I don't know how. You're talking about Gatsby is insanely fast? Yeah, Gatsby. The reason Gatsby is insanely fast is because you're not using any dynamic code. when the site generates. So when you generate a site, it's building it as just raw HTML. Kind of. I think the HTML is like totally static, if I understand right. So it spits out like a traditional HTML, CSS, JavaScript website, as opposed to using a framework to, you know, jump around and do things, which is what makes it fast. Yeah, but I switched over to Gatsby a couple months ago from WordPress, and I haven't looked back. I host my website on AWS using S3 to hold the files, and then CloudFront distributes it to their CDN. But yeah, stick around, hang out, and, you know, and I don't know. Hopefully you can pick something up from these streams and the videos that I throw out, and, you know, feel free to reach out to me directly, or, you know, that was the other thing I was going to mention. I brought this up at the beginning of the stream, so I'm in the process of kicking off coding challenges on my Discord on a weekly basis. So we just launched the first one this past week. It's about building APIs in Node.js. So if you're interested, you know, hop on over, and, you know, we can help you. Diamond, who I think he's still around. He's the one. He hangs out in Devon, and he came from my Discord too. Docker, Mac, localhost, host on time. This might be what I'm looking for too. Let me try this, because I think this works. I don't think this cares about the internal connectivity. Let's do that. Still gonna fail? Sure, count me in. Yeah, hop on over. Okay, invalid API gateway retry message. Resource not found exception. I bet you that is because the table does not exist. Yep, cannot do operations on a non-existent table. Aha, we are heading in the right direction. Okay, so I have to create my table. Let's go. DynamoDB, there's a CLI. Create table. DB attribute definitions. Let's just copy this. Actually, you know what I want to do is I'm gonna create a Docker. Docker compose. Just Docker. Say new file, and we'll say Dynamo db.yaml, and I do want to I'm gonna create a Docker compose file for this. I think I'm gonna comment all this stuff out because I'm probably gonna want to run this when it comes up. So we'll paste that, comment this out, save that, and I'm also gonna use, again, personal projects for reference because they're helpful. Resource, Docker configs. Services, Mongo, image, I think, let's see what we got, what we named our other thing. Do Dynamo, and we'll say 8000, 000. Oh, no. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a Docker compose file that I can run instead of having to manually type the command in every single time. I like Docker compose files because they have all of the information on how to start the container right inside of them. So, and you see I could set restart always, which means like whenever my computer reboots, the Docker, when Docker starts on my computer, it'll bring it up right away. So that's pretty much all we need here. Now I'm gonna save this here, but we need to create table music, Enviari db table. Everything else I think can be this. No, attribute name. Let's bring this over to the side here. Close my terminal, and I'm gonna look at my template.yaml because I want to match this as best I can. Attribute name is ID. Attribute type is S. Key schema is ID. Key type is hash. Get rid of that. We can get rid of that. Read capacity units, we'll set this to 5, and we'll leave the write capacity units at 5. And now I can just copy this out here. Yeah, check, hey Daniel, if you look in the description for this video, you should see there's a link to my Discord server. Just go ahead and click on that and it'll bring you right over. I don't feel bad for doing anything for the developers in, because we've gone back and forth. I think Skylar, I think that's his name. I have we swapped the Discord links, so it's not like I'm really taking anything away from developers in. It's just easier for me to run some of this stuff in my own community, as opposed to somebody else's. So I think we should be able to put this into here, like that. Play that, see what happens. Doesn't like that, so maybe we need to get rid of some of this stuff. Can I run this? Unexpected identifier, it doesn't like any of that stuff. DynamoDB JavaScript, how do I do this? Create table. Oh, it literally wants me to run JavaScript against it. Okay. Hold on a second. What is going on here? Create table. Local secondary indexes. I don't want any LSIs or GSIs. We'll get rid of that. Read capacity units is 5. Write capacity units is 5. More attributes. We don't care about any attributes. For our attribute definitions, let's just go with ID, because that seems to map what we have in our YAML file. Let's attribute name. We don't need any range. I do need to look into those range keys though. Attribute name ID, and it's hash. And we want our table name to be Enviari DB table, right? String number binary. Play this. And I think we have a table. Save that. And I think our app is still running. So it says it can't do anything for a non-existent table, but I think we just fixed that. So let's run another test. Nope, still broke. Why are you still broke? Non-existent table. It's not a non-existent table though. I'm gonna kill this. We'll do SAM local start API again. I got another 10 minutes. I said 10 minutes like an hour ago, and then I kind of went down this whole other path, which is fine. This is good stuff. I'm glad we're doing this. All right, so post that guy again. Still got an internal server error, and I still got the same error message of resource not found exception, cannot do operations on a non-existent table. So that begs the question, did I fat finger something? Enviari DB table. Capacity units of that. This seems to have taken. This is weird. Just the way that it The way that this whole thing is weird. I don't understand why they would just let me run commands against it. List tables. Yeah, give me all tables. Exclusive start table optional for pagination. Limit on that. Limit must be greater than or equal to 1. I could just do this. Get rid of all of you. A Enviari DB table. Enviari DB table. No. All right, I'm going to Google this and we're going to see what we can find here because I don't know why this is not working. But then again, I don't know anything about this local Dynamo. I just learned about it like 2 hours ago, so that kind of makes sense. Non-existent table. Non-existent table. Serverless Dynamo, is this serverless framework? That's the other thing, is like SAM and the serverless framework are two totally different things. And I frankly don't know which one is better or worse. But yeah, I don't know. 99XT. Serverless DynamoDB local plugin. I'm guessing that's for serverless. Which that'd be cool if I could do that too. DynamoDB locally to your computer. Okay, so this is for all this. I would like to see install the official Docker image. Latest container name is that. I don't care about that. This is the Docker Compose YAML files that I was talking about earlier. If you want to have your application in separate containers, following. So here's Dynamo local. Dummy example. Do I need that though is the question. The YAML script requires you specify, but they are not required to be valid AWS keys for you to access. Okay, so these need to exist, but they don't need to be anything. That's our app node. Okay. So I think with the SAM template, when we do SAM start local API environment variables, there's a way that you can specify the environment variables before you do anything, but I think it needs to be in some kind of a JSON file. .env var path JSON that contains values for Lambda functions environment variables, and I hope this does not override what we've already set. Static port. Okay. So N and then a JSON file. Let's see what that can we see what the JSON file looks like. Boat spaces tab. So it should look like this. All right. So I'm gonna go into our code again. And I'm going to create that new file that we're talking about. So new file nvars.json. Paste that in there so I have a basic starting point. We'll say addresses function. And I'm going to set that this stuff here, this environment. Do like that guy there. And then come back into our terminal here, cancel that. And we'll say nvars.json. See if it likes that. I hope it just added that, because I hope it didn't override what we were looking at before. All right, I got the address, so I know it didn't override it, but that did not fix our issue. Cannot do operations on non-existent table. We're back to the same issue. Dynamo DB local cannot perform operations on non-existent table. DynamoDB will create a single database file instead of separate. Ah, okay. So the UI that we're seeing here is not the same as what we're seeing inside here. So the question is, what region am I in? Does it say? Enviari. I don't see a region there. Excuse me. Or can I set a shared DB on here? Shared DB is false. So do I need to do... Actually, you know what? This is a good way that we can CD to our Docker. And Docker compose file. It's just F actually. Docker Dynamo up like that. I think that's the right syntax. On orphan container. This is an orphan container for this project. What are you talking about? Docker Dynamo cannot start service. Docker PS. Docker kill Dynamo. Okay, so we started our deal. That's good. Let's cancel that. We don't really care about I have no idea if I typed that right. We're going to find out real quick here. It's invalid. Shared DB true, which is invalid type. Environment variables. Docker compose environment variables. DynamoDB local. Where did that go? I thought I had something. Don't need to care about that. Don't care about creating a table. Deploying on your local official Docker. Container name, ports. Docker compose environment variables. Web environment. Debug equals 1. Shared DB equals true. Like maybe like that. Maybe that's what it likes. SureDB is still false. Docker compose DynamoDB local SureDB. Look at that. All these things that I'm Googling are clearly issues that other people have run into. Here we go. Looks like this is what we're looking for here. Environments. Loco. Might have to kill my image that's already generated. Let's try this though. So we don't, the environment variables doesn't make any sense. Doesn't work. We need that instead. And I don't really care about storing the data locally, but that's the command we want to. Can I create a container for service Dynamo? Conflict. All right, that's fine. I can work with that. Docker PSA. Docker RM. This guy. That guy. Those two. I'm just killing my Docker. My other Docker containers. You can see I have a lot of DynamoDB images here. I don't need any of them. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 it looks like. Got that one, 6E, BC, I didn't get that one. All right, cool, those are all done. So let's Docker compose up again. Invalid directory for database creation. All right, cool. So it's trying to map something there. I don't know that I need this here, so we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of that. Again, I don't really care where the DB is created. I just want it to be easy to work with. Oh, we got a shared DB is true. All right. I like it. I think is running the way it's supposed to. So now let's go into here again. Refresh this. I'm going to try and list tables, although I don't think any of them exist. List tables. Let's get rid of that and put a limit of, let's say, 5 on here. Play. I got no tables. Okay, I'd expected that. Let's create a table, and we're going to name this table. So we need to redo all this stuff here. So we'll get rid of that, get rid of all this. WCUs and RCUs are going to be 5 each. We don't need any indexes, so get rid of all that stuff. Create table, list tables. I don't even want to list the tables anymore. Again. All right, we have a table. Let's try this now, see if this works. Aha! It worked. All right, so we've got that. Now let's try, finally, we want to, I'm going to close all these. Close other tabs. Yeah, save changes, whatever. Get address. And we want to pass in an ID. I'm surprised it didn't do that. This is cool though, because now we can ID equals that. It was 1.address dash that, I think. This is cool then, because we can test all this. So we can start testing all this stuff locally without having to worry about deploying it every single time, which probably was, out of my 3-hour stream, 2 hours was probably testing all that stuff. Let's send that, see what happens. It returned it back. Exactly what I expected to. Let's get rid of something there and see what happens. I'm posting over and over again, son of a bitch. So that did not do what I wanted it to. Let's try and get. Send. Okay, I got nothing back, but that's not the worst thing in the world. That just means that something's not right with whatever I did. If I go into here, let's see, we get a scan operation. Oh, we got scan. Right. I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff here, and we are going to scan the table. And our table name is Enviari DB table. I don't want basically anything else. I just want to get everything from there and run it. Resource, what? Enviari DB table. All right, here's all my stuff. 3 items. So I want to try and get this guy here. Right? Oh, wrong one. I don't even know now that these even need to be here. I'd like to test that too real quick too before I leave. So forget passing in context dot. I didn't get a 400, which means it actually got the ID and passed it into get address. So key ID. It's console.log params. Oh, cannot read property ID of undefined. Interesting. It's weird that it returned a 200 even though it failed. Let's try and just uncheck that and see if we get the 400 back. Oh, we still get a 4. Oh, we still get that. Address ID. Look at that. Still saying can't read ID of undefined at object.get task app.js at line 35. If context.query parameter strings, it's console.log. So it's like it's erroring out and still returning a 200. So I guess we can return, I guess we could say response equals status code, say 500, and body JSON. Let's see, just error, I guess. Just do that. That'll clean that up a little bit, make it work better. So query string parameters is still null, even though it's coming in. Let's just log the context then, I guess. I am seriously on the verge of wrapping up here, though, I will be entirely honest. Okay, here's the context. It's the event we want. So we gotta fix this though. I'm gonna say to do fix this. It's not failing properly. It's not failing successfully. All right, let's try again. Internal server error. What did we get? 403 address function timed out. Let's bring this up a little bit. Unhandled promise reject is not defined. What? Key table. Oh, SI stupid. We're going to set my, let's cancel this. I forgot to set my table name. I forgot in my post I had set it, I'd hard-coded it in. But on my get, I did not. I used the environment variable. On my post, I did too. Oh no, it's easy post key. Hold on. Post. Save address. Process end. Table name. Come on, 5,000 hundredth time the charm. 5,000 hundredths, jeez, I am getting tired. All right, I got a 200 back, but I got no data. Let's see what we got here. Enviari table, address, what did I do? 1-address- that guy. Underscore, it's lowercase address, not uppercase address. I still got nothing back. Let's see, Dynamo DB, get item by ID. Read an item using its primary key. Okay, so ID, artist, song title. So key, I should be able to pass ID here and it would query that. Interesting. I don't know why it's not. Addresses. Addresses. Still no. All right. I do believe I am about ready to call it. Post save address. Address ID. Rams do show that key is ID and address ID. I wonder if I actually need quotes over this. Like this. I didn't think that would make a difference, but yeah, like unless I like am just not querying the right thing. Let me just try and copy in one of these from our local instance we got here. If I can, geez, it doesn't even let me click on anything. All right, so I copied one right from the database. It's exactly the same thing I had typed. Still got nothing. I am done. I'm wrapping this thing up. I will figure that out at some point between now and next week on Wednesday. So I'm going to take a moment here and I'm going to save my code. Got local Dynamo testing. And say that. Why not? Good enough. All right, YouTube. Thanks for the couple people that dropped by tonight. Really do appreciate your time. Thanks for the help. I will be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, same time, same place. We will we'll continue progress on this thing, and hopefully within a couple of more streams, we can make some really, really good progress. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll make some good progress, and then hopefully on the within the next couple of streams, we'll get something at least production ready out there. That would be pretty cool. But I think we still have a long way to go, but we're making a lot of good progress. I'm learning a lot. Hopefully you're learning a lot too. Feel free to hop in the Discord. I will actually be live on Facebook probably within the next like 10 minutes. I'm going to test out this Facebook gaming platform. So if you're interested in hopping in for that, there's a link in the description below. And with that, I will see everybody next week. Have a good night. Oh, and keep an eye out for the coding Discord or coding Node.js videos that are coming out next week on my channel. Like and subscribe to get notified for all the new content coming out, and have a great evening.